Kamala Harris is now firing back at Donald Trump as he continues to ramp up his anti-migrant message.
When he was president, he did nothing to fix our immigration system. He continues to fan the flames of fear and division. Look, we need a president who cares more about solving problems than playing political games and demeaning people full time.
That comes after Trump targeted Harris at rallies all weekend, posting on Truth Social after that. She, quote, should be impeached, prosecuted, or both over the administration's handling of the border. Our latest NBC News Telemundo CNBC polls shows Harris leading the former president among Latino voters, but Democrats' advantage is shrinking. NBC's Steve Kornacki is at the big board. NBC's David Noriega is reporting from Clark County, Nevada. Also with us, Jess O'Connell, former senior advisor to Pete Buttigieg and former CEO of the Democratic National Committee. Welcome, all of you. Jess, there's a new article out today in the Wall Street Journal that says Trump and J.D. Vance are blaming a broad array of the nation's ills on immigrants, betting that doing so will help them win over voters angry about the uptick in illegal border crossings. Is that a pretty good bet?
Well, I think there's a couple inconvenient truths here for former President Trump and J.D. Vance. The first is that violent crime is down in the United States and to the lowest in nearly 50 years. Border crossings is also, illegal border crossings is also down significantly. And so there's some facts here that are getting missed, I think, in the story. It's no surprise that what they're doing is stirring up racism. They're actually making these arguments that they're making about crime and immigrants. It's making it more dangerous for Americans because it is going to stir up people who are targeting folks who live here, have come here legally as well along the way. And so this is a very dangerous game that they're playing, but it's not a new one.
So NBC News asked 5 voters in Montana this weekend about Trump's remarks, specifically how he said undocumented immigrants are, quote, infecting our country. Take a listen.
If I call things as I see them, it is an infection.
Infect, desecrate, whatever, those type of words that are really inappropriate. And that's one of the reasons that I'm no longer a fan of Donald Trump.
It's pretty disgusting. It's really hypocritical and rude to hate on immigrants. There's no reason that someone can't come here and get a job and contribute to society and help make our country better. Yeah. It's just racism.
Yeah, I think his rhetoric is pretty horrific and purposefully meant to evoke like these feelings of disgust in people that otherwise shouldn't be there.
Now, Montana, of course, has a very competitive Senate race. But Steve Kornacki, let's look at the big picture. We have this new national poll of Latino voters. And I think some of the results are surprising, particularly on immigration. Tell us what we found.
Yeah, exactly, Chris. I mean, again, you showed it at the beginning, a 14-point advantage overall for Harris over Trump among Latino voters in our poll. That's low, historically speaking, for a Democrat. And take a look at some of what is going into that. We asked on a range of characteristics and issues here, which candidate would be better on. And you take a look here, the big advantage for Harris is on abortion. This is among Latino voters, on being a competent and effective commander-in-chief, a sizable advantage for Harris. But you take a look, Trump's advantage on the economy, we see this overall with voters, continue to see it with Latino voters. On inflation, 9-point Trump advantage, and then there it is. On the border and on immigration, Trump among Latino voters right now with a 13-point advantage over Harris. Again, on the question, who would deal better with the issue of immigration and the border? Latino voters by double digits are saying Donald Trump in our poll. And take a look, too, a shift as well on broader attitudes among Latino voters on the topic of immigration. Here's just sort of a baseline question. Do you think that immigration helps the United States more than it hurts, or hurts the United States more than it helps? We asked this 8 years ago, back in 2016. 69 said helps more, 16% said hurts more. These numbers have changed a bit, now down to 62% of Latino voters who say immigration helps more than it hurts, and up to 35%, a little bit more than 1 out of 3, who say it hurts more than it helps. And one other thing to put this in some perspective, I think, the other shift we're seeing is just broadly philosophical. Which party do you identify with? We asked Latino Latino voters. And again, right now, it's the Democrats 49%, the Republicans 37%. But I want to show you is how this has changed. You can go back to 2012 on here. 2016 was the first Trump election. And when he beat Hillary Clinton, look at that. By 3-1, Latino voters back then identified more as Democrats than Republicans. As Trump has come to define the Republican Party in 16, 20, and 24, look at that. That number's ticked up from 20% now to 37%. That Democratic number, again, among Latino voters, was at 59 when Trump came on the scene and is down to 49 today. So the movement among Latino voters has been toward Trump in this last 8 years.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me, Jess, that now that number hurts more than it helps is rising. Does that say, should it say to the Harris campaign that the Trump messaging is getting through in a way that hers isn't?
Well, I think a couple of things are going on. First of all, folks are still getting to know Kamala Harris in this race, and she's working very hard to get out there and to talk to people about these issues.
She doesn't have a lot of time, as you know.
She doesn't have a lot of time, but what she does have is better numbers than President Biden did with Latinos already. And what she's also showing, and I think this is a really important distinction, what she's also showing is a lot of movement with Latinas. When you look at young Latinas under 40, she's winning by 13 points. When you look at battleground states, she's winning by 60% with Latinas. And Latinas are one of the fastest growing segments of our community, and by 5 million over the last 12 years. And these Latinas vote at a higher rate than Latinos. And so I think, look, she has room to move with men, with white men, with Latinos. But when you look at where the Latinas are on these issues, and you just saw it with Steve's chart on the economy, on abortion, on these kinds of freedoms, this is what's guiding this election. I know that the Republicans and Donald Trump want it to be about crime. They want it to be about immigration. But there are other issues that are animating this election right now.
So, David, you are in the critical swing state of Nevada, in Las Vegas's predominantly Latino East Side. What are you hearing from folks there?
Chris, yeah, talking to voters here on the East Side, a couple of things that I've taken away. First of all, almost universally, when I ask people what is the issue that they care about the most, what the answer is something having to do with the economy, pocketbook issues, particularly inflation and the cost of living. But beyond that, Chris, what I'm finding is really a community that is torn between these two candidates, more torn between the candidates and the parties than they've been in, several election cycles, as our polling now shows. One of the ways that this feeling of being torn comes across, for example, is I've heard a couple of different people say that when it comes to the economy, they're inclined to support Donald Trump. But when it comes to immigration, they're still turned off by what they perceive as his historic antipathy towards immigrants and Latinos and their community. Now, we've spent some time in different parts of East Las Vegas during this weekend. For example, on Saturday, we went to a local park not far from where I am now, where there were some youth soccer league games happening, talked to a number of parents who were watching their kids play, asked them questions about what they care about, what they're paying attention to this election. And really, I didn't come out with a very clear picture either way. Like I said, this community is torn. I want to play you clips from a couple of the people that I interviewed. Take a look.
I love what Donald Trump did for us as an economy while he was in presidency, and I don't know what she has to offer because she's new. So that's kind of like taking a chance on her, so that's what I mean. But I do like how she is doing a lot of things for small businesses and how she has that idea for them. I do like that about her.
I vote for Trump just because, the 4 years he was in office, we were doing good, absolutely good. Kamala, she's already in office and ain't done. And, there was more work too. We were able to afford things.
Chris, that first voter told me that she's about 60-40 leaning towards Trump. That second voter, as you heard, fully committed to Trump. But her husband, who I also spoke to, is voting for Harris. So divisions within households even in this community. Chris?
Yeah, and I guess that's Jess, a lot of people we see in many places across America. Do you see the results, for example, from the poll, but also from those conversations, signal a longer-term realignment of Latino voters? Is this more a reflection of the current political and economic climate? What's at play here?
Yeah, look, the demographics of this country continue to change. They're going to continue to change. We've known that. We see that happening. And Democrats have to get to work. They have to engage communities and meet them where they are, not where they've been. And there are real challenges. And even on immigration alone, you know, we know what's going to happen if Donald Trump wins. Our neighbors and our friends, people who have been here, who have spent most of their lives here, will be deported in mass deportations. This isn't a hypothetical. This is a thing they are preparing for and planning for. I think we have to get real about what that will look like and feel like, and also how that will disrupt our own economy here at home. And so I think there's a lot at stake. But yes, you're absolutely right, Chris. There's work to be done that goes well beyond November for both parties in reaching out to communities that are growing and evolving.